Welcome to Mix Lab. I'm Joel Wanasek, and today we're going to talk about splitting your bass guitar and why you may or you may not want to do that, but it can be a very powerful mixing tool. So let's have a listen to this mix here. I've just got a straight DI. We're listening to Seos in right now, and I've got a limiter on it to get it sounding upfront and aggressive. So normally mixing a bass, a lot of people would just take a bass, they would compress it, they would EQ it, maybe throw some distortion on it, etc. Splitting a bass allows you to distort and EQ as well as limit or compress different parts of the signal in different places depending on what you want to achieve. So how would we do this? Okay, so let's do a basic bass split. So I'm going to duplicate the tracks here. I'm going to keep the same limiting settings on, and we're going to call this bass bottom and bass top. Now, we have the same instrument, doubled, which is a little weird. So what we want to do is we want to come in with a set of filters here. So we're going to open up, you can use any EQ. I'm just going to use Q2 here to demonstrate this. And then let's go get a set of filters on bass top. Okay, so the one here on my left, you can see is the bottom and this is the top. Now, we're going to get a basic high and low pass filter. And I'm just going to arbitrarily set this at 31 on the bottom, 250, and then I'm going to do the same thing here, but higher in the frequency range. So now when we play them together, this bass is the bottom, and that's the top. And together, now if I take off the EQ, it sounds pretty similar, just a little bit more scooped. So now we have individual control over the bass instrument. Okay, so there's a couple different considerations. First and foremost is the crossover of where this goes. So if I make this filter too high and I go too low here, it's gonna sound really weird and scooped and disconnected. I'll throw it in the mix just for fun. See, we got some meat back as I slid. And now we got our attack back. But what happens if our crossover is too close? It makes the bass sound extra mid-rangey. So let's bring that back up a little bit and try to find a nice balance. And that sounds pretty good. Okay, so now if we wanted to distort the top end, which is a very powerful tool, so let's listen to it real quick. The bass cut's nice, but maybe we want a little bit more distortion on the top. So we can just throw any type of bass overdrive. I'm just gonna use this TSC one here, which is like a Sans amp clone. Just play with the knobs. Just play with the knobs until it sounds good. See, it's a very different type of attack on the top end now. So let's go back to the top of our bass and just throw any old amp simulator on this. I'm just gonna use the stock Steinberg one, and let's hear what some different types of distortion sound like. And I kind of makes it fun because you can play with different distortions and hear what sounds best in your mix. So let's just say for argument's sake, we like this. You can always play around with the cabinets too. Now, one of the hidden powers of being able to split your bass is to be able to come down here on the bottom end and limit the bass as hard as you need to get the bottom end so it doesn't move. Without affecting the dynamics on top. And the same thing goes with the top end. You may or may not want to limit the top end, so let's have a listen to it. Definitely gets a little bit scratchier and more distorted as I limit it more. And it can also sound more dynamic if I limit it less. So there you have it. There's a basic rundown of how to split your bass. And the key here is figuring out, first off, the crossovers that work for your song. Second off, how much you want to compress or limit the bass, in which range. And then third, what type of distortion you want on the top of the bass or not. And you can even do it on the bottom of the bass. Maybe you want like max bass or some subharmonic synthesis. Maybe you want an actual distortion on it, etc. But it gives you a lot of flexibility. Now, the problem here on the flip side of this is that sometimes splitting your bass makes it sound really disconnected and weird and doesn't fit all styles of mixing. So this is a powerful trick you can use. It's worth experimenting with and spending some time